Today, I want to talk about some insights that I've had into our best buddy, Donald Trump. Treason is acting for Russia's benefit at the expense of America. And I'm wondering, what is it that Trump is so afraid of? Trump hates the notion of failure, for sure. And impeachment would be a black mark that even his huge ego would struggle to come to terms with. But let's face it, he's just going to quit and get out of Dodge before it happens. There is something much darker, however, that seems to be connected to his tax returns being released that is scaring him silly. Any American with an IQ over 110 and an ounce of curiosity already knows that Donald Trump is seriously indebted to Russia. The facts are all out there on YouTube and in books from 100% reliable sources. Like climate change, global warming, it's not up for debate anymore. It's simply the facts. In fact, his very own sons have confirmed that Donald is seriously in debt to the Russians. His daughter has made it clear that her father has been living in debt for decades. She said something like, it's what he is most comfortable with. I would say it's pretty much all he's ever known since losing all of his daddy's $400 million over the last many, many years. Now, let's get things straight. Living in debt, quote unquote, means something very transparent, very, very simple. It means you have no money. Everything that you are spending is lent to you by somebody else. After a non-stop series of bankruptcies, no bank in the world would loan Trump any more money as of many years ago. But the Russian oligarchs wanted to own real estate in the West and had enormous piles of money to lose. All Russian billionaires continue to function in their country only if they make under-the-table payments to Vladimir Putin. He is rumored to be the richest man in the world, but he's way too smart to let that news out. And nothing significant happens in Russia without Putin's say-so. If you're in debt to Russian oligarchs, Vladimir Putin has leverage over you. Why is the Donald so afraid of releasing his tax returns? He has his lawyers fighting tooth and nail to prevent the release. Is it because his Trumpster supporters will finally see the proof that their so smart hero is a total failure at business? No. They already think that not paying taxes by pretending to be broke makes him super smart. So there's something else. There's something else that the information in those documents, his tax returns, will reveal about Donnie that he is petrified about. I have to conclude that it reveals the fact that Putin owns him through loans from oligarchs and the deals that he's had to cut with them. So you might ask, so what if Putin has significant leverage over Donald? Well, Trump has suddenly, unilaterally, against the advice and insistence of both his own military and allies, been giving Putin gifts that seriously undermine American interests and America's standing on the world stage. He has done this, at least in part, based upon the urging of two other national dictators / strongmen, Turkey's Erdogan and Hungary's Orban, and for the benefit of Syria's dictator Assad. Let's face it, Trump has only taken action against Russia under enormous pressure from Congress. Otherwise, he just wouldn't have done it. Now, we know that narcissistic psychopaths absolutely love each other. Narcissists love themselves, so they naturally love their own reflection and anyone else who is like them. They see their own hard-done-by identical twins attacked by the majority of people in the world for being bad actors, but these same people manage to succeed in getting their own way through power, manipulation, and control of the media. Dictators and dictatorial parties who are in control of nations support each other unconditionally, as we've seen with China's Politburo and with Putin. Because if they showed any support for democracy or regime change, it would mean that they could become the next target. But while Trump loves Putin, there is something deeper at stake, it is clear. Since his election, Trump has repeatedly supported giving in to Putin's policy goals, even if doing so puts the U.S. at a disadvantage. Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, regardless of whether or not you like her, had laid out the undeniable facts very clearly based upon innumerable unimpeachable sources. Trump has repeatedly urged that a myriad of things be done that clearly benefit Putin, but suddenly he is taking action on the stuff he can do unilaterally, like pulling out of Syria. He seems to be in a panic, knowing that Congress won't give him their support. He's just going ahead and doing stuff on his own. Now, you might ask, how does Donnie know what Vlad wants? Folks, seriously, Donald has had private meetings behind closed doors for hours with Vladimir. Trump ordered any notes taken by the translator destroyed. And it's weird that they have translators because Putin, having been trained by the KGB, speaks English fluently. What do you think they're talking about? Vladimir's hockey games? Really? They're working out quid pro quos and figuring out how the Donalds can manipulate things in America and around the world to benefit Russia so that Russia doesn't call in his loans. Compromising the new anti-Russia Ukrainian president is a key goal of Putin's. The two Soviet-born new Americans, Lev Parnas, born in the Ukraine, and Igor Fruman, born in Belarus but who has worked in Ukraine, who are in jail for working with Giuliani to funnel $1 million to Trump's campaign. No leverage in that, is there? Were clearly working at the behest of corrupt Ukrainians to oust the squeaky clean American ambassador, Marie Ivanovich, and clear the way for Trump and Giuliani to bribe the new Ukrainian president, Leonid Kravchuk, I should have practiced pronouncing those names, to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. Getting Kravchuk to announce an investigation into the bogus claims of Biden's corruption might not only seriously benefit Trump's campaign, it would play directly into Putin's propaganda machine that will crow that Kravchuk is corrupt and easily manipulated by foreign powers, which would be counteracting the complaints of blatant corruption by the majority of Ukrainians about the previous Russian-backed president that they kicked out. So why is Trump suddenly taking reckless steps to benefit Putin? Sit tight. We're going to see a lot more desperate maneuvering by Donald in the coming weeks to fulfill promises he has made to Putin to keep him out of trouble with his Russian creditors. Why? Because the accounting firm that is holding Trump's tax returns is going to eventually have to turn them over, and there's stuff in there that is going to upend Trump's apple cart. Plus, the impeachment probe is getting all the evidence needed to convince Senate Republicans to pull the trigger on the Donald after the Democrats get it passed in Congress. So what strategic defensive maneuvers have we missed out on that Trump is participating in? Well, number one, Rudy Giuliani was never actually Trump's lawyer. Rudy Giuliani, who has been the principal frontman for the impeachable bribery deal with Ukraine's president and has always been touted as Trump's personal lawyer, quote unquote, is not at all Trump's personal lawyer. Trump is and / was not paying him. So Trump's enablers will pull that rug and say he was never working for Trump. All this time, Giuliani has actually been working for, that is getting paid by, the clients that he was doing the bidding of, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. It was they who wanted the American ambassador out of Ukraine so they could cut a natural gas deal with the corrupt energy minister and pull off some other shit we don't even know of yet. These guys have run a long series of get-rich-quick schemes in the past. It was they who had the entirely corrupt and lying former Ukrainian prosecutor, who Joe Biden worked hard to get fired, meet with Giuliani and feed him a crock of shit that Giuliani, in the hopes of looking like a hero, then took to Trump as a tool to convince voters that Honest Joe was actually corrupt. If Giuliani had never met these two clowns, it's probably the case that Trump would have never faced impeachment due to the gaffe. The lawyers who are actually on his payroll and are being paid with credit, secured, no doubt, from Russian oligarchs, not that they care, are now arguing that Trump can't be impeached for anything, or more importantly, he cannot be criminally charged for anything he does while he is POTUS. POTUS is President of the United States, for those who don't know. They've just come out and said that Trump could not be charged even if he shot someone on Fifth Avenue in broad daylight. And it's interesting that they're using this Fifth Avenue example because it's also a very important trigger for Trump with his base, reinforcing something they've already had cemented in their minds that Trump himself claimed in reference to their unconditional support for him. What this would mean, the fact that he cannot face any criminal charges, is that no sitting president could be charged with, for example, mass murder, using a machine gun in a baseball stadium. Number two, he couldn't be charged for bombing a school bus if it was something that he wanted to do. He could not be charged for blowing up the Hoover Dam and flooding everybody downstream of it. He couldn't be charged for sending an atomic bomb to commit genocide on the people of Baltimore that he doesn't like. Trump's real lawyers are maneuvering to claim that he cannot be charged with what? With treason. Presumably, the 25th Amendment would come into play if he did any of that wacky stuff, and that president could be impeached and removed from office, but they could not be criminally charged while in office, according to these lawyers. More importantly, it means that if a charge of treason emerges from the release of his tax returns and revelations of leverage that Russians, and therefore Putin, have over him, the effect of which was to induce Trump to take actions that benefit Russia while disadvantaging America, Trump cannot be criminally indicted while in office. He would be untouchable by the laws of America. Furthermore, should he be impeached and Pence assumes the presidency, which is something that Pence has desperately wanted and has been patiently hoping would happen, then the newly appointed President Pence will pardon Trump immediately for all offenses leveled against him, even treason. Yeah, he can do that. That president can do that. So, ta-da! Trump gets off scot-free to use all the money he and his family has made while in office to pay off the Russians and finance some new endeavor that he'll go bankrupt over once again. That's just what Donnie does. He just goes bankrupt all the time and loses all the money because he's incapable of making good judgment calls. Why? Because he hasn't got a very high IQ. Poor fellow. He's screwed up his entire life, but spends a lot of time, because of the Dunning-Kruger effect, assuring all of us that he's very, very clever, and assuring himself. Thank you so much for watching. And if you got this far, that likely means you have a sincerely curious mind. And curious people tend to be high on the IQ bell curve, which makes you a member of my target audience. If you'd like to comment down below, I'd be more than happy to have an intellectual debate with you. The only thing I'd request is that before you comment, take a moment to consider whether the point you want to make is based upon well-researched facts, scientific evidence, proven effective policies, a balanced, nuanced point of view, and actual intellectual analysis that you've conducted inside your brain, or whether you're simply knee-jerk reacting to hardwiring in your brain that either leans right or leans left, or to dogma that you've been indoctrinated with by religion or someone whose views tend to reflect your brain's hardwiring. Sadly, most people can't control their brain's hardwiring very well, and this is the cause of all of the world's polarization and political battles. I'm a centrist, so I see both sides of most arguments, and I really like talking to other centrists because genuinely progressive, practical solutions come out of those discussions. Talking to hardwired folks on the left or right just leads to shouting matches and frustration. If you've watched a few of my videos and I've managed to change the way that you see the world, even just a little bit, then please consider either clicking on the PayPal link below to buy me a beer or becoming an ongoing patron by clicking on the Patreon link. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side of the camera again sometime soon. I hope you got something out of my thinking, and if you think I deserve it, please click on the thumbs up sign down below. If you'd like to watch more of my insights into what drives our sometimes peculiar behavior, please click on the links beside me to other videos I've posted. To get notified when I put something new out, click on the subscribe link below me. If you feel inclined to really help me out, do all of the above, as it helps my ranking on YouTube go up.